Thanks. I wanted to further understand a little bit the president's trip tomorrow.
Yeah.
It seems like by going to stand with workers at a picket line, the president is literally standing with them in the terms that they're seeking in the contract dispute. But when you're asked about some of the specifics of that, you seem to be saying you guys don't want to get into the specifics of the dispute. So is he not standing with them on the terms with which they're trying to negotiate? With
I mean,
them?
to be very clear, he is standing with them to make sure that they get a fair share. That is what he's standing with them on. He is standing with them, and we've said this, that they get the record profits mean a record contract for UAW. That is why he's going. That is what he's standing for. Now they're going to negotiate what that looks like for them. Right? That's what they're doing right now. That's what collective bargaining is all about, right? They're going to talk it through what a win-win agreement looks like. But what we definitely agree on is that they deserve a fair share, right? They deserve a fair share of the value that they helped create. That's what the president is saying. But the details, the specifics of what that looks like, what makes both sides happy or anything in those at the negotiation table, that is for them to decide. That is for them to decide.
But it seems like he's taking away some past presidents have been an arbiter between two sides that are in conflict. It seems like by going to the picket line, he's not an arbiter between the two sides. He's choosing a side by stating.
But we have said over and over again that this is the president that stands with union workers. This is.
Right, but that's why it's confusing where you're
How,
saying
we're
not going to talk about the terms.
I
of
disagree. It is not confusing. What he is saying, and we've been very clear, he stands with union workers. He stands with the workers. He has said, and they have said, he is the most pro-union president in history, and that is what he's doing. He is going to stand in solidarity at the picket line with the workers. Now they are at the table. They are at the table trying to figure out what this agreement is going to look like, right? They are going to decide the specifics of that agreement. What the president is saying is, and he always says this is nothing new. He always says he stands by union workers and he is going to stand with the men and the women of UAW. That continues to be the case. Go ahead, Katie.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. You're going to ask the same question? I'm not going to change my answer.
I'm seeking clarity. It's fine. I'm going to ask again.
No, feel free, and I'm going to give you the same answer.
Is he visiting the picket line? Is he standing with them? Is he walking in the
He's
picket line?
He's going to join the picket line.
So does the White House see any political risk in
What the
doing this?
president understands is that he wants to be on the side and has been on the side of workers. That is something that he has said over and over and over again.
So when he asked earlier that if he's siding with the workers over the companies, he is indeed siding with the workers.
He is standing with
Yes.
the auto workers. He is standing with the auto workers. We are not involved in negotiations. That is something for them to decide what is going to work for the parties that are involved.
Okay.
But he is standing with the auto workers. That's what the president is doing. He got the invite from the UAW president. He accepted, and he's going to go and do what he has said that he does all the time, right? Which is stand with union workers, and what you're going to see is going to be standing with UAW men and women of the UAW, and that is important to the president.
Right.
Dave, you're up front today.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
First time in the first seat. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I want to press you a little bit on what you just said. You said that the president supports the auto workers. Does that mean that the president is siding with the auto workers over the auto companies?
What we're saying is we're not going to get into the negotiation, right? This is, when it comes to the negotiation, that is something for the parties to decide on. That is something for them to discuss. But me saying that the president supports the auto workers, that's not anything new. When we're talking about a president who is the most pro-union president in history, it is nothing new for the president to stand by the workers. That is nothing new for the president to say, I'm going to stand by the men and women of UAW. Make sure that they get their fair share. Make sure that they get a win-win agreement here. We believe this agreement can be a win-win agreement for all. So, but we're not going to get into we're not going to litigate the specifics of the negotiations.
Following up on that, though, a strike could have potentially huge impacts for the economy. According to NBC News polling, 37% of registered voters, just 37%, approve of the president's handling of the economy. He's at a 56% disapproval, the highest of his presidency. And 74% of registered voters say they have major or moderate concerns about the president's age and mental fitness. How troubling is that?
Here's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on exactly what you just asked me, right? The first question, which is how do we continue to support the workers, right? We're not going to get into the litigation of the negotiations here, but what we're going to do is continue to show how much this president is working for American families. You just heard from Secretary here, who laid out what it means if there's a shutdown, and why it is so important for Republicans to keep to their deal. That's what we're going to focus on. You see, the Bidenomics, I get it. I get that Americans right now, they've been through a lot, right? They've been through the pandemic, this global pandemic that we're coming out of. They have been through what we've seen because of Russia's war in Ukraine, and we saw inflation spike. We saw what's going on with what Americans are feeling every day. This is why this president has been so zeroed in, so laser focused on lowering costs for Americans, and we've done that. And a lot of the policies that the president has put forward are indeed popular. I mean, Bidenomics has worked so well that you have Republicans in their own districts, in their own states, taking credit for things that the president pushed forward, policies that the president has pushed forward, legislation that they didn't even vote for. If you think about the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act. So I get the polling that you're laying out. I get that, but we can't be focused on that. We also have to be focused on really speaking directly to the American people. The next 3 days, you're going to see the president go to 3 states to do just that.
But 37% approve?
I hear you. But it is, look, our focus is going to be on what we can do to continue to deliver for the American people. Polls are polls, right? They are going to be all over the place. They're going to, they don't tell the whole story, actually. And that is just the way a poll is. What we're going to focus on is how we can continue to do the job that the president promised that he would do, is make Americans' lives a little bit better, give them that breathing room. I'm going to go around. I know I always forget to call on this side, so let me call on you. Go
Thanks,
ahead.
Green. You just said the president doesn't want to get into the specifics of the negotiations, but is he perhaps interfering in these negotiations by, visiting the picket line tomorrow?
We're not going to get into. We never get into, into the specifics of negotiations. Not in public. We're not going to do that. That is something, for the parties to decide on when it comes to negotiations. We've always been very clear about that. They're meeting, they have negotiating, and we are pleased to see that. When it comes to the president going to the picket line, he's doing it because he wants to stand in solidarity with the workers, which is something that this president continues to do and has done for the past several years, is stay on the side of workers. And you see that with his policies, and you'll see that tomorrow.